everyone. A very good morning to all of you. We will be shortly starting with our webinar. A couple of minutes to go, and we will be starting with our webinar today. Before we start, a few housekeeping announcements. All the participants are on mute. You can send in your questions in the Q&A section during any time of the webinar. We will be taking up the questions on the fly. Okay, and we are on time. Hello, everyone. A very good morning. I am Anushri. I will be moderating this session or the webinar today. And with me, we have speakers Neha and Shambho. So I'll introduce the speakers in a while. But before that, I request all of you to participate in our webinar, to keep it interactive by way of attending the polls. We will be having polls in between the webinar. We also encourage you to kindly let us know your questions throughout the webinar. We will be taking up the questions on the fly. Before we proceed, just a few housekeeping announcements. All the participants are on mute, and please keep your questions coming in. Thank you so much for joining us. I will be sharing my screen just in a moment. So today we bring part 2 of our series of webinars. The first one was held in the month of October. The next one is now, and the last webinar of this ESG series. We definitely are looking forward to keep this continuing, but in different sections. So this introductory series of our webinars, today is our second webinar for this. Next one is coming in month of May. Topic for today, we will be exploring the draft taxonomy, ESRS Taxonomy, and we'll try to align it with the ESRS standards. So what are the requirements from the ESRS, European Sustainability Reporting Standards, and accordingly how it is aligned with the taxonomy. We have done our little bit of analysis. We will be bringing you all the pointers which you need to go ahead and consider while preparing your ESG reports. So two factors, one is while preparing the report, and the second one is conversion of the report using the latest ESRS Set 1 taxonomy. To start with, we are from Iris Carbon, and in the UK, we function in the trade name of Phoenix Solutions. We are not associated in the UK for Iris Software Group. We are not associated with them. We function in the trade name of Phoenix Solutions. A little bit more about our speakers today. Shambho. Shambho is our subject matter expert for ESG. He comes with a cadence of expertise in the ESG strategies, double materiality, and consulting space. He has worked with various sectors in the ESG in the main field of ESG domain and implementation of the same. Shambho will be taking us through the details of the ESRS, that is the standards part of it, European Sustainability Reporting Standards. And our next speaker is Neha. Neha will be taking us through the digital conversion or the digital space of our reporting. And she will be taking us through the steps which are needed to convert and how the taxonomy looks like from the point of view of the issuers. So a detailed analysis of the taxonomy along with the standards for aligning your ESG reporting. And I am Anushri, and I had the global customer success for the Iris Carbon. So that is all about the speakers today. Let me just bring you agenda for today. We will be getting to know more about these standards, as I mentioned. Apart from that, for those who don't know the XBRL, just a second. Yeah, for those who don't know the XBRL, for them, we will be bringing a little bit of introduction and about the taxonomy. And yes, there will be the walkthrough of this taxonomy. So that is an interesting part. Question and answer session. So bring up your questions. We are happy to address them. Little bit about us, who we are. Iris, we are into the RegTech space and into the digital reporting since 23 plus years. So we are a iXBRL and XBRL evangelist, and we are the only listed company in the RegTech space. We function across 50 countries. So we have presence across the 50 countries, and we leverage our domain expertise through the countries with the different mandates and different offerings. We work with the regulators, that is 30 plus regulators, and have a portfolio of almost 6,000 plus customers across the globe. To our credits, we have several accolades: Best FinTech 2021, Best MSME Tech 2022, and many more. To add to our accolades and to our credits, we also have partnered with the standard setting body to develop the taxonomy and platform for ESG purposes. So with this deep market expertise, we function in 3 different segments, that is collect, create, and consume. From the collect segment, we have our offerings for the regulators in the space of taxonomy. We will know about the taxonomy a bit later with our speaker Neha. But yes, from the collect segment, we function for the regulators for taxonomy building and consultation. In the create segment, we have our offerings based upon the cloud-based platforms for the mandate-specific requirements or for the authoring-specific requirements. That is wherein the product suite comes from. I will be speaking about our different offerings in my next slide. From our third segment, that is consume, whatever is the XBRL data that is submitted to the regulator, we consume the data and draw peer-to-peer benchmarking or different analytical reports for our users. So these are the functional segments in which we perform. Coming to next, we are very proud to say that we are number 1 in our quality. Being an evangelist in XBRL and iXBRL domain, we definitely score at the top most position in the ranking from the quality perspective. We have top-notching the charts of quality quarter after quarter. We have excellent customer ratings with the CSATs and NPS at like 9 by 10 or 9 out of 10, or you can say 92 out of 100. To our credits, apart from the mentioned accolades in the previous segment, we also have to the credit from our customers review, awarded to be the high performer for fall 2023. We have G2 with the rating of 4.8. To our credit, we have the Apple Award in the segment of ERP plus finance in small business mid-market segment. Gartner Peer Sites rates us as 4.7 with Capterra at 4.9. These stars makes us shine more brighter. Few global select client across the globe, mainly primarily from European market. You can see on the screen we have Eni, we have Renault, Petrol from Slovenia, Colruyt Group from Belgium, bpost, Fluxus, Rika Industrial, so on and so forth. With all this experience, we have come up with the product suite wherein we have our own disclosure management platform wherein you can very well go ahead and author your financial and non-financial report. Yes, ESG falls into the non-financial reports. You can very well leverage our disclosure management platform for your ESG reporting purposes or any other financial reporting purposes, along with its collaborative functionality. Conversion of your digital report of ESG into a digital iXBRL format, that is something which Neha is going to speak upon, but yes, we have it in our product suite. XBRL and iXBRL being a global, the evangelist in this particular space, we have offerings for several mandates for your conversion requests. And from the consume segment, we bring in IRIS iConnect, wherein the data which is submitted in the XBRL format can be consumed, and or iXBRL format can be consumed, and you can draw, like intuitive reports. There are like dashboards, peer-to-peer benchmarking, and many more analytics based upon the data. This was from the product suite from Iris Carbon. Now I turn my screen for our today's webinar with the overview of European Sustainability Reporting Standards. All you need to know with our speaker and expert ESG, Shambho. Please, over to you. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Anushri. So before this, should we have our first poll of the day?
Yeah, sure. Just a second. I'll stop sharing my screen. Just a minute. Should surely take in the poll first. I request everyone to kindly, yes, I request everyone to kindly please participate in our poll, and I'll be super excited to get in the results. At what stage of ESG journey you are in? So I would like to know at what stage you are in. Okay, we are in the process of implementation is what most of them are saying. We also have, from the sector wherein the ESG is not applicable, but hold on, we will be coming up with the implications and applicability of ESG in a while with Shambho, and he will be elaborating on this particular segment. Still, we are waiting for the poll results. Just a couple of things I would like to address upon. We have participants across the globe. Those who are from India, we do have offerings from the basis of sustainability of BRSR, and not only from ESRS, but definitely we are also working about on the basis of ISSB, GRI, and rest of the frameworks. But today's webinar is more focusing upon ESRS. However, the steps or the prime prerequisites which will be required, or the conversion requirements, depending on the taxonomy, are applicable across the frameworks. Okay, with that, we have the highest percentage saying that it is not applicable for us. And the next one we have we have not yet started. So you are at the right place. We are here to help you. And the second is we are in the process of implementation. So I'm very sure you are at the right place, and we will be able to help you with Shambho's session. Yes, Shambho, over to you.
Thank you again, Anushri. So as Anushri mentioned, we will be specifically looking at ESRS simply because they've already published a draft taxonomy. So all of the concepts, all of the terms that we discussed today, those will be applicable for all the future taxonomies as well, whether it's released by ISSB, whether it's released by GRI, or if its taxonomy is already released, such as the BRSR. So with that in mind for today, I will go ahead with an explanation of ESRS. Anushri, can you share your screen? Yeah. So ESRS, the full form is European Sustainability Reporting Standards, and it has been developed by EFRAG, which is an advisory body for the European Commission. and it is based on the CSRD, or the Corporate Sustainability Reporting Directive. In terms of applicability, it is one of the widest in scope so far. And in case any of our viewers today are wondering whether the ESRS is applicable for them or not, I think this is a great place to see if it is applicable. So the very first set of companies for whom it is applicable is in terms of the large undertakings. It's not just listed companies, even non-listed companies, as well as companies which are non-EU based, but the subsidiaries are in the EU. If they classify as large undertakings, again, it is applicable for them as well. There's also large credit institutions and insurance undertakings, which are public interest entities for whom the ESRS is applicable. In terms of the definition of large, there are various criteria, such as those related to the balance sheet, related to the turnover, as well as employees. If you'd like to have more information on that, please do feel free to reach out and we'd be happy to help. Apart from just large institutions, it's also applicable for SMEs, particularly those which are listed on regulated EU markets. And there are various other non-EU undertakings. If they are listed in any of the regulated EU markets, again, the ESRS is applicable for them as well. There are also other non-EU undertakings which are not listed in regulated EU markets. If they meet certain criteria related to the turnover and employees and so on within the EU, they will also have to apply the ESRS standards. The current set of standards which have been released, that is the 12 set of standards, these are in particular applicable to the first two categories that you see over here. That is for the large undertakings. For the SMEs, there's a separate set of standards which are currently under consideration. I'll come to that in a little more detail in a little while. And apart from that, for the non-EU undertakings also, there's a separate set of standards which will be developed, or the EU might even determine that there's an equivalent standard which could be applicable for non-EU undertakings. So in terms of the current set 1 standards which have been released, there are 12 of them. Two of them are cross-cutting standards, which implies that they are applicable for all the companies, irrespective of the industry. And these two are the ESRS 1 and 2. ESRS 1 is a very general standard. It's just simply about the principles and the concepts involved within the ESRS, whereas the ESRS 2 has more specific requirements, such as about the materiality assessment, the various risks which are involved in the company, and other general company information which all the companies will have to submit. Apart from that, there are 10 other topical standards. These are divided into E, S, and G, wherein 5 of them, E1 to E5, fall under the environmental standards. S1 to S4 are the social standards, and G1 is the governance standard. So the very first question that a lot of us might have is, how do we determine which of these topical standards is applicable to us? So for that, the ESRS has released very specific requirements based on the CSRD. That is, a double materiality assessment will have to be done. A lot of companies previous to this have done a materiality assessment, but double materiality is a relatively new concept, wherein it consists of both the impact as well as financial materiality. By impact materiality, we mean the impact on the stakeholders of the company, and financial materiality is the impact of the various sustainability topics on the finances of the company, whether it's direct or indirect. By indirect, I mean it could even be in terms of the relationship with suppliers, customers, and so on. So an overall comprehensive process is involved in the double materiality assessment. So moving on, we look at the dates for which the ESRS is applicable. The first important date, of course, that you need to know is when it was published. The first set of standards, it was adopted by the European Commission on 31st July 2023. And in the official journal, it was published on 22nd December 2023, after the members of the European Parliament voted on it and it was passed. Being published in the official journal means that it is officially in force, the set 1 standards. In terms of the effective dates for the various set of categories of the undertakings, there are different phase-ins. The very first applicability is for the companies which are already subject to the NFRD. This includes companies such as large listed undertakings or large public interest entities such as the insurance and credit institutions. For them, the effective date is right from this year onwards for publication of the report in 2025. The next up is the other large undertakings, such as the non-listed undertakings, which are currently not subject to the NFRD. For them, the applicability is from next year onwards. So of course, any companies which fall into either of these two categories, it is highly recommended to get the processes in place as soon as possible, because it's very much in short term. So you'll need to figure out what are the requirements which are applicable to do for you. Then you will need to figure out a materiality assessment, and you'll have to have the entire data collection process as well in place. The next set of companies are the listed SMEs. For them, it is applicable from 1st January 2026 onwards, and this also includes the non-EU listed SMEs. The SMEs are also, they can opt out based on if they meet certain criteria, then they can opt out until 2028. And finally, for the non-EU undertakings, the applicable date is from the 1st of January 2028 onwards for publishing in 2029. There are certain transition provisions which are provided because, of course, ESRS would be new for a lot of companies. So that's why the European Commission, they've decided certain transition provisions or reliefs which are applicable for companies who are applying for the first time. And some of them are such as related to the value chain information. If it is currently not being tracked, then it needs not be reported for the first 3 years of publication of the report. Further, for the very first year, we don't need to report the financial effects of non-climate environmental issues. That is, for example, water or biodiversity. Such issues, their financial effects need not be reported. But from the next year onwards, they will also have to be calculated. From the very first year, the climate-related financial effects are, of course, applicable. This means that you'll have to publish either qualitative or quantitative effects of climate change on the business. Then there are certain data points related to the own workforce. If it is not currently being tracked, then it need not be published. So these are in general some of the transition provisions. And then there's also for companies which have less than 750 employees, that's a separate set of transition provisions. Again, if you'd like more details on that, please do feel free to reach out. There's also
Thank
one
you. Yeah.
sneak preview in the next slide. Of
But before that, there's a time for next poll, and
okay.
yes, a very interesting poll because Shambho just mentioned that he is more focusing upon the ESRS, but we are very curious to know that which standard your organization is looking forward to follow. So here is the next poll, and we are extremely curious to know about your answers. So it is like, what standards your organization is required to be followed? So is it ESRS? Is it ISSB? Is it GRI? Or is it BRSR or any other standards? TCFD, NFRD, TNFD. Okay. So maximum of the votes, we have like GRI, we have ESRS, we have BRSR as well. We are waiting for others to vote. Come on, participants, please vote so that we can pick up the maximum percentage standards and give you some update about it. So meanwhile, while the poll results are coming up, I would just like to make one major update about the ESRS. There are many newsletters which are like issued by the standard setting bodies and different XBRL consortium saying that the ESRS reporting has been delayed. But these delays are specifically related to the sector-wise reporting. You still have to go ahead and start your ESG reporting for the general disclosures, ESRS 1, ESRS 2, and certain of the topical standards. So although the typically sector-specific standard disclosure is delayed, but the cross-cutting standards and a few of the topical standards are something you need to focus upon. Yes, I request all the participants kindly to vote. We have the highest percentage wherein, most of them are going ahead with GRI and ESRS, that is European Sustainability Reporting Standards. So a very interesting thing I would like to say, maybe we can cover this particular detailed discussion in our next webinar, but there is something which is known as interoperability between the standards, and that is something we will be covering in our next series of this webinar. Thank you so much for your votes about BRSR. Yes, Iris Carbon do have a service offering for BRSR. For more information, please do write us info@iriscarbon.com. Okay, I will just start sharing my screen once again. Just a second. Over to you, Shambhu. I hope my screen is visible.
Yeah, it's visible now. Thanks, Anushri. So here you can see sort of a sneak preview of what we have on our platform. This is specifically for the ESRS, wherein the ESRS, of course, they have the set of standards that I was talking about, and the requirements from those standards are then translated into understandable questions over here, along with sample answers, which are given for each of the questions. So this can be filled in by the applicable companies. On the right side, you will see a panel. This is the list of topics which have been chosen post materiality assessment. So for all of these topics, we have a section-wise templates, which is similar to what you see on the left. For choosing these topics as well, we have a set of recommended topics for each industry, and we're also building in the complete double materiality assessment tool within the platform itself. So this is a very brief sneak preview of our templates. We will be focusing more on this in the next webinar. So
So what
finally,
happens
yeah.
with the, so sorry, what happens with the ESRS templates if you are currently in the process of implementation or you are not yet started? We can help you with the gap analysis. You get your ESG report, use our templates, do the gap analysis wherein you will get to know the gaps, what you need to report and what is currently reported. So that particular analysis along with our consultation, you can go ahead and do it leveraging ESRS templates. So sorry, Shambhu, please go ahead.
No worries. Yeah, so we have the latest updates of the ESRS in the next slide, wherein the very first focus of the ESRS post publication of the first set of standards has been guidance, right? Like, or the support for the set of standards which have been released. So to that effect, they've released a few different documents. One is the draft data points. So this is basically all the requirements which are present in ESRS. A draft set of data points have been released corresponding to those requirements. This is very useful to understand how much of these data points are being covered currently by a company. Then, of course, since double materiality is a very new concept, they've also released implementation guidance for double materiality and for the value chain as well. How much of the value chain needs to be assessed and how do you assess it? So these are a couple of documents which have been released. Apart from this, there's also a Q&A platform. This consists of a set of chosen experts. So anyone is welcome to submit questions to the platform, and then the set of experts, they will be choosing the questions and answering. Currently, there are 2 sets of questions for which answers are available already. So there's also the SME standards that I was talking about earlier. Since currently the set 1 standards have been released, which are for the large undertakings, they have also released a very early draft or an exposure draft of ESRS for listed SMEs, along with a voluntary reporting standard for non-listed SMEs. And finally, there's the main topic of today, that is the draft taxonomy, which has been released. So the draft ESRS taxonomy, we are going to talk about it a lot more. And also in this presentation, we have the links to each of these. So you can feel free to click on them and go to the corresponding links. So over to you, Anushri.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Shambhu, with this introduction and overview of the European Sustainability Reporting Standards. To our attendees, please drop in your interest areas also so that we can include these topics in our next upcoming webinars and the series of webinars. We would be happy to take up the topics. And regarding ESRS templates, although the voluntary reporting is always something which benefits the health of the or you can say the sustainability health of every company, and it will attract more of the green investing from your sustainability point of view. So that is my take on ESRS. Now we will turn our screens and our entire attention to XBRL. Neha, I invite you to kindly please go ahead, and the floor is yours.
Thank you, Anushri, and thank you, Shambhu, for your valuable inputs. This really helps me to set the context for XBRL. So you might be hearing this term XBRL more often now, but let me tell you that XBRL, that is Extensible Business Reporting Language, is a language which machines can understand. And this reporting standards has been around from 20 years now. Yes, you are hearing it right. XBRL is there from 20 years from now. XBRL is a royalty-free open source standard and managed by a consortium called XBRL International at a global level. And there are geography-specific XBRL consortiums like XBRL Europe, XBRL US, XBRL South Africa, and so on. And this standard was basically started for financial reporting for corporates, banks, and mutual funds, and now is evolving for non-financial reporting as well. When I say non-financial reporting, it means our ESG report. So XBRL is widely adopted by over 200 regulators across 60 countries all over the world. When it comes to the benefits of XBRL, there are several benefits like data transparency, accessibility, time and cost saving. But today we will be discussing three major benefits, that is machine readability, data comparability, and accuracy. Now let's see these benefits one by one. Of course, I will be taking in examples so that it becomes very easy to understand things. So the first benefit, looking at the first benefit, let's take an example of company A who has reported number of employees, and the number of employees in company A is 734 for 31st December 2023. Now let's say that this much of information is given, that there is some company A who has some value of 734. So now I am not able to interpret anything from this value. This value can be asset, liabilities, or number of employees maybe, which means that the information is incomplete. So in XBRL, to complete the information, we need few properties or attributes. The first and foremost property is the XBRL tag. So here I will apply the XBRL tag, which is number of employees head count during the period. And this tag is from my ESRS taxonomy. Next, I would require is the period. So I will assign the period from 1st Jan 2023 to 31st December 2023. The next property which I need is the unit. What this value denotes? This value denotes employees. And the next is the scale. Currently, this number of employees is in actuals, but just imagine if it's a monetary value, it might be in thousands or millions. So now with these four properties, now I can interpret that yes, this company A 734 are number of employees for the year 31st December 2023, and here the unit is employee. So it's similar to the barcode. You go to the supermarket or a mall and you just go for the counter to do a billing, and there the salesperson first scan the barcode. By scanning the barcode, the salesperson would be able to know the price, the product, or if any discount applied, and then after the salesperson will ask us to make the payment. This standard is similar to barcode only. So using this standard, we will be able to compare the data. So the next benefit is comparability. I have taken the same example, but now the example is of company B, and there it's a head count. So with my XBRL tags, whatever company A or B reports as their line item, whether company A reported as number of employees, whether company B reported as head counts, but just because of my XBRL tag, which is number of employees, head count during the period, the data become comparable. Here, the investors, analytics, or peer companies can compare the data using the XBRL tag. Coming to the next slide. Your data, you can always make sure that your data is accurate. With this simple example, so this simple example, everyone is aware of it, where company has reported their greenhouse gas emissions. Now in XBRL, this greenhouse gas emissions for scope 1, I will apply the XBRL tag, which is there in the taxonomy. For scope 2 as well, the XBRL tag will get applied for scope 3 and for total greenhouse gas emissions as well. So with this XBRL tags, a calculation relationship gets created, and the system knows that yes, 8,000 plus 6,000 plus 2,000 becomes 16,000, which is correct. The system validates the data with the inbuilt checks, and they will show us the passed and failed calculation. And from the failed calculation, we always can correct our report and validate again. So these are the 3 benefits of XBRL. Yes, Anushri, coming to the next slide.
Before that, we would like to go ahead for one more poll, and this is probably the last poll of this particular webinar. I request all of you to kindly participate in the poll, which is very interesting, because we are speaking about the standard. ESRS was related to the ESG reporting. XBRL is a worldwide standard, iXBRL, XBRL, and these are related to the mandates which need a standardization for reporting purposes. Here is the last poll. Has your organization ever had to report using XBRL standards? So for European or the UK geography, we do have ESEF mandate, but for other geographies, I would definitely like to know that whether have you reported in the XBRL standards? Majority, as expected, yes is the answer. And yes, I'm glad that we had an introductory explanation of XBRL, because we have a few people who don't know what XBRL is. So to just summarize what Neha has mentioned, XBRL is a technology reporting language, we can say, wherein your concepts which are in PDF, a monetary value which is there in a PDF, derives a machine readable format. So you can compare your document with another XBRL document. So it facilitates you with data comparability, data transparency, and more of the data analytics can be drawn using the XBRL reporting language. And any further information you need upon the XBRL, please do get in touch, info@iriscarbon.com. Votes, please keep them coming in. But yes, we have majority of them who currently report into the XBRL standards. So yes, the next section of our webinar is definitely going to be very beneficial for you. What is coming up on the XBRL front for your ESG reporting for ESRS? Over to you, Neha. I'll be sharing my screen. Just give me a moment.
Sure, Anish. Okay. Yes. So before going ahead with the draft 1 ESRS taxonomy, we should know what taxonomy means exactly. So you might be hearing this term XBRL taxonomy. So let's understand what is taxonomy. So taxonomy is basically a data dictionary used to describe specific concepts. So in the context of XBRL, a taxonomy defines the terms and concepts used in financial and non-financial reporting. Here, in this case of ESG digital reporting, the regulator, which is ESMA, has tasked EFRAG to develop the digital XBRL taxonomy for the European sustainability reporting standards, which will be required by every company who comes under the mandate needs to go ahead and use. As I said, taxonomy is a data dictionary of financial and non-financial concepts, wherein these concepts have tags or elements, has attributes defined, and each tag has interrelationship between them, which we have been seen in the previous slides. So if you see the draft ESRS Taxonomy Set 1 published on 8th February, there are total 4,252 concepts or tags which are introduced. So now coming to the next slides, this taxonomy I will be taking you through in a short while. So before that, let's see some examples of the disclosures which has been introduced. So this is something, this taxonomy has 4,252 tags, and there are certain data types such as string, text block, monetary, domain, boolean, person, so on. These data types are basically, it defines the kind of data to be tagged with the element name. Now, let's take an example, or let's see few of the major categories with examples. So for the first category or the data type is string. String data type is basically a short narrative information to tag against specific content. The best example is diversity, equity, and inclusion policy in governance section, which needs to be tagged against name or identifier of policy, which has string as data type. The next data type is text block. So text block is basically a text tag that contains narrative content. Text blocks can contain whole table, images, graphs, but cannot be used to tag numerical values. Similarly, there are more data types which has been there in the ESRS Set 1 taxonomy. For example, domain, boolean, where yes or no needs to be tagged, percent, a data type where percentage needs to be tagged, monetary, for all the values which is representing currency. At that time, monetary data type will be used. And similarly, enumerations and integers data type will also be used. There are few more data types. For example, for a common example, for greenhouse gas emissions, there is GHG emission data type which is there. So using this data type elements, we have to tag the information. Again, decimal is there, G year is there, volume is there, date and area is there. So we have, depend on the data type and the reporting, we have to tag the ESRS tags accordingly. Coming to the next slide, this is a summary of the type of disclosures which has been introduced in ESRS Set 1 taxonomy. And these are the count of tags. So here you can see that the text block and string data type has the highest ranking. So there are 1,054 tags for text block item type. And for string, it's 1,003. And these are the numbers for other data types as well. So this is there in the taxonomy. And again, depend on the nature of the reporting, we have to tag the elements against the content. Coming to the next slide. Now, this is something very interesting. So though the official adoption of the XBRL ESRS taxonomy for CSRD reporting appears to be set for 2025, but we can't agree more with XBRL International, who is stressing a necessity for companies to adopt a digital mindset. We encourage and recommend companies to grasp this opportunity and be an early bird, to automate manual processes in advance and ensure the accuracy, visibility of these reports through digital thinking around climate and sustainability disclosures. We are here to help you. Iris Carbon is here, and you are just an email or call away to approach us to make this mandate seamless, similar to the ESEF and other mandates. As promised, EFRAC published ESRS Draft Taxonomy Set 1 on 8th February, and based on ESRS Set 1 standard published by EFRAC and which is also approved by European Commission on 31st July 2023. Public consultation is something which is opened till 8th of April 2024, wherein the review of consultation of the responses will be done, and by summer 2024, final XBRL taxonomy will be handed over to European Commission for approval. So this is the timeline which is currently there. There might be some changes in the timeline, but this is something which has been there in the EFRAC website as well. Now coming to the next slide. The main agenda and the interesting part of today's webinar is the walkthrough of ESRS Taxonomy and ESG. Here, I would like to share my screen. Let me know once it's visible.
Meanwhile, Neha is sharing her screen. Just few updates from the ESRS Set 1 taxonomy. Iris Carbon is basically a cloud-based platform, and we are extremely taxonomy agnostic. Here is Neha's screen. I can see her screen. Yeah. So whenever a new taxonomy is published, we make it a point to bring it on the platform for our issuers to go ahead and consume it and adopt the early publishing by voluntary means. Yes, Neha, over to you. I can see your screen.
Yeah. Okay, so this is the EFRAC ESRS taxonomy, which is there in our platform. So this is the taxonomy which everyone is talking about. So you can see that the taxonomy has 4,252 tags, and these tags are segregated as disclosures. These tags are segregated as per the cross-cuttings and topical standards. So you can see here that it has been segregated as ESRS S2 for social, for governance, and if you go further down, we will be able to see the environmental section as well. Now let's open any one of the disclosure so that I can show you how it works. Let me expand this. So each and every disclosure has a specific structure, a hierarchy, aid ordering, and standard labels given by the regulator, which means we are not allowed to make any changes in the taxonomy. So for that, we have to create our own company taxonomy, which will be based on the ESRS taxonomy. So this every disclosure has its own structure. If you see this, it has line items, tables, members, and you can also see certain abstracts. So these abstracts plays the role of placeholders, and where also you will be able to see the line items. So you might be wondering how to use these elements or the structure while tagging a specific content. So here I would like to show you an example. So this is our general example for greenhouse gas emissions reporting. So here you might be wondering why the other tags are in green color and only one value is in blue color. So let me tell you that the rest of the values are already XBRL tagged. Yes. So these highlights means that these values are already XBRL tagged. And this value indicates that this is marked for tagging. So I do not have to do anything much. I just have to select the value, select my specific element which I need to tag. For example, gross scope 1 greenhouse gas emissions in this case. And then if you see this menu bar, I have to select the context, that is the period, the unit. Let's say the unit is kilogram here. The scale would always be actuals in this situation. And I just have to say tag. And the color will also change to golden green. But here you would also see in this reporting, there are 4 values which says gross scope 1 greenhouse emission. But these 4 values are segregated into 4 categories. That is upstream value chain, own operations, transport, and downstream value chain. In XBRL also, similar tagging or similar case has been given. So for example, with the greenhouse gas emissions, I want to categorize this value using upstream value chain. So I will simply search the element which I would require, and the exact element will get appeared. I just have to select it and say tag. So now let's review this element which we have just tagged. So yes, now you can see the XBRL element, which is gross scope 1 greenhouse gas emissions, the period, the unit, and the scale, along with the dimension, which is upstream value chain member, which we have used to categorize the values. So this is how we will be doing the tagging. Now you might be wondering that how this data will looks like when it is XBRL tagged or converted to iXBRL. So we have iXBRL Preview, which comes with Iris Carbon platform. And here I am very proud to share that Iris Carbon, along with Gap, the largest apparel and fashion brand in US, undertook the activity of converting PDF into the digital format on a voluntary basis. Gap used the SASB taxonomy to tag the ESG report and host it on their corporate website. So this iXBRL Preview is a human readable form of XBRL where you can search the elements from the search box, and you can also, if you click on it, you can also see the electronic concepts with its properties. This is how you can improve your ESG reporting with the XBRL taxonomies, with the because the taxonomies are more structured and standardized as per the frameworks. And with that, it facilitates peer benchmarkings and comparisons for investors and analysts. So this is all about from my side. Now I am stopped sharing my screen, and over to you, Anushri.
Thank you, Neha, for the walkthrough of the taxonomy. And I hope that, our attendees who were not aware about what is XBRL and what is taxonomy, some magical words in today's webinar, you must have got a little bit of idea of what XBRL is. It is conversion of your PDF, the pretty looking report, into a digital format, retaining its, stylization. So that is the conversion using the XBRL and iXBRL module. With that, yes, we come to almost the end of the webinar, but yes, we have some interesting content to share with you. Let me just share my screen. And if you have any questions, please do let us know. Now, the most important question, like we have explained about what are ESRS or what are the ESG standards and how IRIS can help you. So we can help you in conducting the gap analysis, wherein you can compare your ESG report, or you can simply, go through our ESRS templates and see what information you need to disclose, depending on your industry type, depending on your assessment, risk assessment, double materiality assessment, and we are there to provide you consultation as well. You can definitely leverage our IRIS business, IRIS Carbon Disclosure Management platform, wherein authoring, which is capable of authoring using the ESRS templates. So we bring the ESRS templates from the industry sector as well. Do let us know, and we will walk you through that. And like Neha mentioned, we have the ESG digital transformation of the data. The previewer or the viewer, which Neha just showed, is Gap apparel company's viewer, wherein they converted their ESG report into digital format. When I say digital format, there is no coding which you can see, but all what you can see are the values which have some meaning in the digital format. So it has an electronic tag or the electronic meaning which is attached to it, which enables comparison. So yes, in the comparison sector also, once your report is tagged and it is submitted, we can go ahead and draw comparisons. Currently for BRSR, because the submissions have been done for quite some time, we can draw the live or the real-time comparison based upon the BRSR module. So that is something which we offer from the ESG digital data comparison. Once ESRS is also submissions are starting up, we will be able to provide the comparison. But currently for BRSR, we are there. With this, we have a lot many resources on the ESG front. You can visit our blog sites. You can visit the reporting basics. What are ESG reporting's requirement as per the geography which you are concerned in. And definitely we have ebook for you. So it is the CFO's guide. But yes, you can definitely get a clear enough idea about where to start from. Customer stories, what they made them happy, how did Gap went ahead and adopted SASB, now ISSB taxonomy, to convert their 2021 and 2022 ESG report in digital format. All these stories along with their XBRL report all over here at our resource section. Your questions, please. We are eager to take up the questions. I'll stop sharing my screen for a bit. Yes, I think we have a question. What happens if a company doesn't comply with CSRD? Yes. Shabu, you would like to take that? What happens if a company doesn't comply with CSRD?
Yeah, so in case a company doesn't comply with the CSRD, then definitely there will be severe financial implications in terms of penalties. That is one part of it. And the government could also decide to ban that particular company from investment portfolios. And of course, another more indirect impact could be in terms of the investor confidence, like any investors who have been investing in the company. If that company doesn't comply with CSRD, then they will lose the confidence about is the company actually being transparent or not. So in terms of finances, definitely there is some severe implication of not complying with the CSRD.
Thank you. I have a question. Can you send this webinar material on the email ID? Definitely for the attendees today, the presentation which we made will be emailed to all the attendees today. The next one question we have: does the companies who comply with ESEF? ESEF is the ESEF is the mandate for the European geography, wherein they have to convert the annual report, financials, and the notes to accounts in the digital format using the iXBRL and XBRL domain. So over there, do they need to submit the ESG report separately, or it has to be submitted along with ESEF? So I will take that question. As of now, the ESEF or the ESEF is the mandatory, mandatory compliance which the listed companies need to make. They need to submit their consolidated financial statements in iXBRL format. About ESG, the conversion of the ESG in digital format, currently it is voluntary and you have to submit it along with the annual report going forward once the taxonomy is released. Long and short answer, going forward for the submission purposes, once the taxonomy is released, this is just the draft set 1 of the taxonomy of ESRS. But later on, once the combined taxonomy is released, there will be only one reporting which is required to be done. So no special separate reportings. For the voluntary reporting, definitely it is a separate reporting as of now. I hope that answers the question. And I think we have, are your reporting automated, or how is the data loaded or collected? Yeah, so for currently we have the data collection is something which we are not currently supporting into, but definitely the templates is something which are auto-populated. You have to select your preferences depending on your industry sector, depending on the topics of disclosure, and the templates get populated wherein you can fill in your data. Aggregation is something which currently we are not supporting with. Is your platform integrated with IoT? Shambho, you would like to take that question? Is your platform integrated with IoT?
Currently, no, we don't have an integration with the IoT in our platform.
Okay. Are there any sector specific standards? Shambho, I think this question is for you. Are there
sector-specific standards are currently being developed. So as Anushri mentioned, that was actually supposed to be developed right after the Set 1 standards for the large undertakings, but instead the European Commission, they've taken the decision to specifically look at the implementation support for the current set of standards. So that's why the sector-specific standards have been delayed by a couple of years, but as soon as they're developed, they will be out. So currently there's a delay in the development of sector-specific standards by ESRS.
We have an interesting question. Can I create iXBRL reports voluntary? When is iXBRL reporting going to be mandated? So Neha, you would like to, take that questions. Can I create iXBRL report voluntarily?
Yes, of course. You can create an iXBRL report voluntary. This actually helps you to make your organization visible, accurate, and transparent. And here you will be able to make a very good impression on the investors or analytics. Coming to the next question, when is iXBRL going to be mandated? So it is unlikely to be mandated from 2025, but anytime you can create the voluntary filing. And also XBRL International also recommend to not to wait for the mandate and go voluntary.
Thank you, Neha, for that question and answer, basically. I would just like to add a couple of bits. I know we are 1 minute up the time, but yes, I'm just coming to it, whether it is voluntary or whether it is mandatory. For ESEF as well, initially it was, postponed due to COVID, but many of the issuers went ahead and they did the voluntary filing for the ESEF. This helped them from the auditing perspective, from the disclosure perspective, and from when the real mandate kicked in, they were very comfortable to go ahead with. So there were no teething trouble at the time of real implementation during the mandate. So early implementation and voluntary submission is something which is highly encouraged by the consortiums. Okay, with this, we come to the end of the webinar today, but we have something exciting for our attendees. Let me just share my screen. I promise I won't take much time. Yes. We have exciting offer. So we are here to do the gap analysis and expert consultation for you. And apart from that, we have the pilots for iXBRL conversion of your ESG report at a competitive price. So please email us at info@iriscarbon.com. And if you're interested in it, definitely we would like to take it on priority and help you with your ESG report conversion with the ESRS Set 1 taxonomy. Stay tuned to our next webinar, which is in May 2024. Let us know your interest area. We will definitely like to cover the same. Thank you so much for joining us today. You will be, you have been a great audience today, and thank you for the questions and your poll participation. You will be getting the presentations which are shared over here right after the webinar. Thank you so much.